Welcome to Book Briefs, your go-to source for insightful book summaries that dive deep into today's most compelling ideas. In this video, we're breaking down Malcolm Gladwell's latest book, Revenge of the Tipping Point, Overstories, Superspreaders, and the Rise of Social Engineering. This book takes Gladwell's classic tipping point theory and expands it into the digital age, exploring how small actions, social influences, and technology are shaping the world around us. From viral phenomena to the unintended consequences of social movements, we'll cover it all in this video. Let's jump right in and explore the hidden forces driving massive changes in our society. In Revenge of the Tipping Point, Gladwell revisits his iconic concept of tipping points, those critical moments when something small turns into something massive. Whether it's a trend, a social movement, or an idea, a tipping point marks the shift from being under the radar to being everywhere. But what exactly is a tipping point? Gladwell defines it as the threshold moment when an idea, behavior, or product crosses from obscurity into mass awareness. It's the point where the scales tip, and suddenly that idea or movement explodes, growing exponentially. One of the key ideas in this new work is that tipping points are happening faster today than ever before. Why? It's largely due to the digital world we live in. Thanks to the interconnectedness of social media, a single post, tweet, or video can trigger a tidal wave of influence, pushing an idea past the tipping point in a matter of hours or even minutes. Take, for instance, viral trends or social justice movements. It only takes one influencer, one tweet, or one video for an entire movement to snowball. Gladwell points out that while tipping points were always part of human behavior, the pace at which they happen now has fundamentally changed. And here's the critical part. Tipping points aren't always positive. Sometimes misinformation, harmful ideologies, or negative behaviors can also reach that tipping point, spreading just as quickly. This is why understanding how tipping points work is crucial in today's world. One real-world example Gladwell might use is the rapid spread of the Black Lives Matter movement. While it started as a grassroots effort, it hit a tipping point with the tragic event of George Floyd's death, pushing the movement into global consciousness almost overnight. What started as localized protests quickly grew into a worldwide movement. So why should we care about tipping points? Because they teach us how change happens. Whether you're trying to start a movement, grow a business, or make an impact, understanding the dynamics of tipping points gives you the tools to recognize when you're at that crucial moment. It's about timing, influence, and understanding when momentum can turn the tide. In Revenge of the Tipping Point, Malcolm Gladwell introduces a new term, overstories. These are the big picture narratives that run through our societies, guiding how we think, feel, and act, often without us even noticing. So what exactly is an overstories? Think of them as the larger framework or overarching story that connects a series of smaller events, behaviors, or trends. They aren't just isolated moments or ideas, they're the meta-narratives, the stories that help us make sense of what's happening in the world around us. Gladwell argues that these overstories are crucial because they shape how entire societies view certain movements or trends. They provide the context for tipping points, giving people the narrative lens through which they understand what's going on. And overstories can make a tipping point feel inevitable, as if it's part of a much larger trend or movement. Take, for instance, the global push toward environmental sustainability. The rise of green technology, eco-conscious consumerism, and climate activism all fit into a larger overstories about protecting the planet for future generations. Individually, these things might seem like trends, but when you connect them under the larger meta-narrative of environmental responsibility, it feels like part of a much bigger movement that's shaping the future. In Gladwell's framework, overstories are what allows small movements to build momentum. By tapping into these larger cultural narratives, small actions or ideas start to resonate on a broader scale. People see these smaller moments as part of something much bigger, and that's when they start to care. That's when change happens. One powerful example of an overstories Gladwell might use is the narrative of freedom and democracy. This meta-narrative has been at the heart of many movements around the world, from civil rights to anti-colonial struggles. Every time a group fights for its rights, they're not just isolated events, they're part of this larger overstories that frames the fight for human rights as part of an ongoing global struggle for freedom. Gladwell argues that understanding these overstories is essential in today's world. In a time of constant information overload, it's the bigger narratives, the overstories, that give meaning and direction to the endless flow of news, trends, and ideas. They help us prioritize what matters and make sense of what's happening around us. But there's also a flip side to this. Overstories can be used for manipulation. Those in power, including governments, corporations, and media outlets, often craft and promote overstories to influence how people think. Gladwell warns that we need to be aware of this and critically assess the meta-narratives that we're buying into. So why is this concept important for us? Because recognizing these overstories can help us understand the world more clearly, whether it's the rise of social justice movements, political ideologies, or even consumer trends. It's crucial to see how the individual pieces fit into the larger narrative. In Revenge of the Tipping Point, Malcolm Gladwell introduces the idea of superspreaders, people or factors with the unique ability to rapidly amplify and spread ideas, trends, or movements far beyond their original scope. So, what makes someone or something a superspreader? Gladwell argues that while many people and ideas float through society unnoticed, superspreaders are the ones with the rare ability to trigger a tipping point. These individuals are well-connected, charismatic, and positioned in such a way that their influence extends far beyond their immediate circle. Whether it's in business, politics, or social media, superspreaders have the power to make ideas go viral. A key factor that distinguishes superspreaders is their reach. They have large networks or access to platforms that allow them to spread messages quickly. In today's digital age, social media has become the ideal platform for these superspreaders. Just one tweet, post, or video from an influential figure can be enough to set off a chain reaction that pushes an idea past its tipping point. Take the example of Elon Musk, a perfect case study of a modern-day superspreader. When Musk tweets about a stock, cryptocurrency, or even his opinion on a product, it can cause a massive shift in the market. His reach is enormous, and the ripple effects of his words are felt globally. In just a few characters, Musk can ignite a movement, disrupt entire industries, or send stocks soaring. But superspreaders don't have to be celebrities or public figures. According to Gladwell, any individual with access to the right platform and connections can become a superspreader. For example, influencers on TikTok or YouTube have been able to make or break products overnight simply by sharing their opinions or showcasing a trend. Their ability to reach millions in a short period of time turns them into modern-day superspreaders. And it's not just people who can act as superspreaders. Ideas and technology can as well. Gladwell discusses how certain ideas like viral trends or political ideologies can act as superspreaders by spreading rapidly through social media and cultural networks. Think of how memes or movements like the Ice Bucket Challenge caught on and spread like wildfire. A few well-placed posts or videos were all it took for the challenge to reach global awareness. One key point that Gladwell emphasizes is that not all superspreaders are aware of their influence. In some cases, people unknowingly become superspreaders by introducing ideas at just the right time and in the right context. Timing, coupled with connectivity, can turn ordinary actions into catalysts for massive change. The rise of social media has also made the phenomenon of superspreaders more prominent. Platforms like Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram give anyone with a smartphone the ability to become an influencer. Gladwell points out that while this democratizes influence, it also comes with risks. Superspreaders can be responsible for spreading misinformation or harmful ideologies just as quickly as they spread positive change. In fact, one of the dangers Gladwell explores is how superspreaders can amplify false narratives or create tipping points that fuel polarization and division. When a person or idea with a large following pushes a particular message, it can catch on quickly, even if the message is misleading or dangerous. This highlights the dual-edged nature of influence in the digital age. So why does understanding superspreaders matter? Because in today's world, influence is everything. Whether you're trying to grow a business, create a social movement, or raise awareness for a cause, knowing how superspreaders operate can help you identify the key people or platforms that can make your message go viral. In Revenge of the Tipping Point, Malcolm Gladwell dives into the world of social engineering and its powerful role in shaping behavior, especially in today's digital landscape. But what exactly is social engineering? Traditionally, it refers to the manipulation of people to influence behaviors or decisions, often for a hidden agenda. In the digital age, this concept has taken on an entirely new form, one that Gladwell argues is more pervasive than ever. With the rise of the internet, social media, and big data, social engineering has evolved into a highly sophisticated science. Digital platforms are not just tools for communication anymore, they are engines for influencing and shaping how we think, act, and even vote. This is achieved by carefully crafting the information we see and interact with every day. Gladwell explains that social engineering in the digital age is built on three pillars: data collection, psychological manipulation, and mass targeting. Let's break these down. First, data collection plays a huge role. Every time you browse online, post on social media, or click on a link, you're generating data that companies, governments, and even malicious actors can use to predict and influence your behavior. Algorithms track your online habits, from your shopping preferences to your political beliefs, allowing social engineers to tailor messages specifically for you. The goal is simple: to nudge you toward making decisions without you realizing you're being influenced. Second, psychological manipulation comes into play. By understanding human behavior, emotions, and biases, social engineers can design content that taps into our deepest desires and fears. This might come in the form of personalized ads, emotionally charged news articles, or even memes designed to provoke specific reactions. Gladwell points out that we often don't realize how deeply we are being influenced because the manipulation is subtle and works by exploiting our psychological triggers. A clear example of this is the way political campaigns now use targeted ads on social media. During elections, campaigns use big data to send personalized messages to individuals based on their browsing history, interests, and social connections. This allows campaigns to craft specific, emotionally charged messages to nudge voters in a particular direction, often without them even knowing they're being manipulated. And that brings us to the third pillar: mass targeting. Digital platforms allow social engineers to reach massive audiences at lightning speed. With one click, a message can reach millions of people. Superspreaders, those influencers or well-connected individuals we talked about earlier, play a crucial role here. Their reach amplifies the spread of engineered messages, helping to push certain ideas, products, or behaviors past the tipping point. A great example of this is the spread of misinformation during the COVID-19 pandemic. Social media platforms were flooded with misleading information about vaccines and treatments. These messages were often designed to manipulate people's emotions, playing on fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Because of the speed and reach of digital platforms, misinformation spread faster than the truth, influencing millions of people around the world. But it's not just political campaigns or health misinformation. Companies use social engineering every day to get us to buy products we don't need or to keep us hooked on their apps. Think of how notifications on your phone, are timed to grab your attention at just the right moment, or how ads seem to know exactly what you're interested in. This is all part of the subtle art of digital social engineering. Gladwell warns that we need to be more aware of these tactics and how they're shaping our decisions. Social engineering has become so embedded in the digital world that we often don't recognize when we're being influenced. The lines between genuine content and manipulated information have blurred, making it harder to know what's real and what's engineered for a specific agenda. So, what can we do? One of the key takeaways from Gladwell's book is the importance of digital literacy. Understanding how social engineering works in the digital age is the first step toward protecting yourself from being manipulated. Be critical of the information you consume, question the sources, and always look for the bigger narrative behind the messages you're being fed. In Revenge of the Tipping Point, Malcolm Gladwell delves into the mechanics behind viral phenomena, the seemingly magical moments when something spreads rapidly and reaches a massive audience. But as Gladwell explains, going viral isn't just a matter of luck. It's a combination of factors coming together at the right time, and the digital age has made this phenomenon more common than ever. So, what exactly makes something go viral? Gladwell outlines several key elements that contribute to a viral phenomenon. The first is contagiousness. Just like how a virus spreads from one person to another, an idea or trend needs to be easily shareable. In today's digital world, platforms like social media have made sharing effortless. A click, a like, or a retweet can instantly expose something to an entirely new audience, multiplying its reach. But it's not enough for something to be shareable. It also needs to have emotional appeal. Gladwell points out that emotional triggers are crucial to viral success. Whether it's humor, surprise, joy, or even outrage, content that taps into strong emotions is far more likely to spread. This is why viral videos often evoke laughter, shock, or empathy. People are naturally drawn to content that makes them feel something, and they're more likely to share it with others if it sparks a strong emotional reaction. Take, for example, the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge. What made this campaign go viral? It was fun, it had an emotional cause behind it, raising awareness for ALS, and it was easy to participate in. It wasn't just a single video, it was a challenge that spread like wildfire across social media, encouraging others to get involved and share their own experiences. In a short amount of time, it turned into a global phenomenon, raising millions of dollars for charity. Another factor that Gladwell identifies is simplicity. For something to go viral, it often needs to be simple enough for people to understand quickly and share easily. Complex ideas rarely go viral because they require too much effort to digest or explain. In contrast, simple, bite-sized content is more likely to catch on because it's easy to consume and pass along. One great example is the meme culture. Memes, by their very nature, are simple, relatable, and highly shareable. A funny image or phrase can convey an entire message in just a few words, making it perfect for viral spread. Whether it's a meme, a catchy song, or a short video clip, simplicity is a key ingredient in the recipe for virality. Gladwell also points to the role of timing. Viral phenomena often emerge when the timing is just right, when the cultural, social, or political environment is primed for an idea to catch fire. Timing can be everything. A product or message that might not have gained attention a year ago could become wildly popular today because the context has changed. The rise of viral trends during the pandemic, for instance, showed how people's behavior and attention can shift in response to external events, creating the perfect conditions for certain ideas or products to explode. But what about the platforms that help spread viral content? In the digital age, algorithms play a huge role. Social media platforms like YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram use complex algorithms to determine what content gets shown to users. When something starts to get engagement, likes, comments, shares, the algorithm boosts its visibility, showing it to even more people. This creates a feedback loop where more exposure leads to more engagement, and more engagement leads to more exposure. In this way, platforms act as accelerators for viral phenomena, pushing content to the tipping point much faster than in the past. However, Gladwell also warns of the potential downsides of viral phenomena. Just as positive ideas and trends can go viral, so too can misinformation, hoaxes, or harmful content. Once something goes viral, it's difficult to contain, and false or damaging ideas can spread just as quickly, sometimes even faster than the truth. In fact, studies have shown that fake news spreads faster than real news because it often evokes stronger emotional responses like fear or anger, which makes people more likely to share it. In this sense, viral phenomena are a double-edged sword. They can create movements, raise awareness, and bring people together, but they can also spread harmful ideas or manipulate public opinion. This is why Gladwell emphasizes the need for digital literacy, being aware of what we share, why we share it, and the potential impact it can have. In Revenge of the Tipping Point, Malcolm Gladwell explores how technology has fundamentally transformed human behavior. He argues that we are living in a time when technology isn't just something we use to make life more convenient, it's actively shaping who we are, how we think, and how we interact with the world around us. At the core of this transformation is the fact that technology has blurred the lines between the virtual and real world. We no longer experience life in neatly separated offline and online spaces. Instead, the two are constantly intersecting, with digital tools influencing our behavior in the physical world, and vice versa. One of the first points Gladwell makes is how technology amplifies behavior. In the past, human behavior was shaped primarily by cultural and social norms passed down through generations. But in today's digital age, technology has accelerated this process. Our thoughts, opinions, and actions can spread across the globe in seconds, and what starts as a small idea can quickly become a massive movement. The key point is that technology amplifies the actions of individuals, allowing even a single person's behavior to have an outsized impact on the world. Take social media, for example. Platforms like Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook have given individuals a level of influence that was once reserved for celebrities or public figures. The phenomenon of influencers shows how technology empowers ordinary people to shape trends, behaviors, and opinions on a large scale. But at the same time, this amplification can lead to unintended consequences. As Gladwell points out, the same technology that allows positive movements to spread also enables misinformation and harmful behaviors to go viral with real-world impacts. Another aspect Gladwell highlights is how technology shapes our attention. We live in an age of constant distraction, where notifications, alerts, and messages constantly demand our attention. The more we use technology, the more it conditions us to seek out quick bursts of information, often at the expense of deeper, more reflective thinking. As a result, our ability to focus and engage in long-term tasks is being diminished. This has a profound impact on how we behave, from how we work and study to how we interact with others. Gladwell also discusses the way that technology manipulates our emotions. Algorithms designed to maximize engagement on platforms like YouTube, TikTok, and Twitter are built to show us content that triggers strong emotional responses. Whether it's outrage, joy, or even fear, technology constantly pulls at our emotional strings, encouraging us to engage, comment, and share. The result? Our emotions are being manipulated by the content we consume, often without us even realizing it. We might believe we're making choices independently, but in reality we're being nudged in certain directions by the platforms we use every day. One of the most striking insights from Gladwell's book is the idea that technology is changing our sense of identity. In the past, identity was shaped largely by geography, family, and culture. But now, with the advent of the internet, Our sense of self is increasingly influenced by online communities, social media profiles, and digital personas. We curate our identities through the content we share, the people we follow, and the image we project online. This means that who we are in the digital world often becomes just as important as who we are in the physical world. This has significant implications for how we behave. The pressure to maintain a certain image online can lead to stress, anxiety, and feelings of inadequacy, especially among younger generations. Gladwell points to the rise of mental health issues linked to social media use as a clear sign of how technology is influencing our emotional well-being. Moreover, Gladwell argues that technology is reshaping the way we make decisions. With so much information available at our fingertips, we now rely heavily on algorithms, reviews, and recommendations to guide our choices. Whether it's what product to buy, what news to read, or even what person to date, we are increasingly outsourcing our decision-making to technology. While this can lead to more informed choices, it also raises concerns about the loss of autonomy. Are we really making decisions for ourselves, or are we simply following the paths that algorithms have laid out for us? One example Gladwell uses is the way platforms like Amazon, Google, and Netflix suggest products or content based on our past behavior. While this may seem convenient, it also narrows our exposure to new ideas and experiences, reinforcing our existing preferences and biases. This phenomenon, known as the filter bubble, limits our ability to think critically or engage with opposing viewpoints, which has broader implications for society as a whole. Ultimately, Gladwell's exploration of technology and human behavior leads to one key conclusion. While technology has undoubtedly improved many aspects of our lives, it's also changing us in ways we might not fully understand. From shaping our attention and emotions to influencing our sense of identity and decision-making, the digital tools we use every day are having a profound impact on who we are and how we behave. In Revenge of the Tipping Point, Malcolm Gladwell doesn't just explore the positive side of tipping points, the moments when ideas, trends, or behaviors explode into the mainstream. He also shines a light on the darker side of this phenomenon. Sometimes what seems like a minor shift in behavior can spiral into something much more dangerous, with unforeseen consequences. The concept of the tipping point is that small actions or ideas can reach a critical mass, triggering a larger shift. However, Gladwell warns that not all tipping points lead to positive outcomes. In fact, some can unleash chaos, fear, or even destruction. This is the dark side of the tipping point, when ideas or behaviors that start innocently enough tip society into dangerous territory. One of the key examples Gladwell discusses is the spread of misinformation. In today's digital age, rumors, conspiracy theories, and fake news can spread at lightning speed, reaching the tipping point before anyone has a chance to fact-check or correct them. Once these false ideas gain momentum, they can shape public opinion, influence elections, or even incite violence. What might begin as an innocent meme or a misinterpreted headline can snowball into a global phenomenon with real-world consequences. For instance, Gladwell points to the infamous Pizzagate conspiracy. What started as an obscure online theory suggesting that a child trafficking ring was operating out of a pizza restaurant quickly escalated. The idea tipped into the mainstream, fueled by social media and influential figures, leading to real-world violence when a man walked into the restaurant with a gun, believing he was rescuing children. This is a clear example of the dark side of the tipping point, when unchecked ideas spiral out of control and cause harm. Another aspect of the dark side that Gladwell highlights is the amplification of harmful behaviors. Social media platforms designed to promote engagement can inadvertently amplify toxic or dangerous behavior. This is particularly true with movements that incite hatred, bigotry, or extremism. Once these movements gain enough followers, they tip into the mainstream, attracting more people who may not have been exposed to such ideas otherwise. Gladwell examines how radicalization happens in these online spaces. He argues that technology can act as a breeding ground for extremism, allowing like-minded individuals to connect, reinforce each other's beliefs, and escalate their behavior. A few isolated ideas or individuals can quickly snowball into organized movements that challenge the stability of society. This is another dark consequence of the tipping point, when harmful behaviors spread beyond niche groups and into the public consciousness. Consider the rise of cyberbullying. What begins as a few mean comments or jokes can quickly escalate into mass harassment once it tips. This tipping point occurs when enough people join in, creating a pile-on effect. In some tragic cases, this has led to severe mental health consequences or even suicide for victims. Once again, the dark side of the tipping point shows how easily small actions can spiral into something catastrophic, especially in the digital age. Gladwell also explores how tipping points can accelerate systemic issues. For instance, he looks at how economic inequalities can tip over into civil unrest. When the frustrations of a marginalized group reach a critical point, they can ignite protests, riots, or social movements. While some of these movements are born out of legitimate grievances, they can also devolve into chaos or violence if mismanaged. Gladwell argues that once a tipping point is reached, the momentum is often irreversible, and containing the fallout becomes nearly impossible. Another striking example from the book is the spread of addiction, not just to substances but to technology itself. Gladwell points to the addictive design of apps and platforms like TikTok, Instagram, or even online gaming. What starts as harmless fun can tip into full-blown addiction, where individuals lose control of their behavior. These platforms use psychological triggers to keep users hooked, creating a cycle where small interactions, scrolling, liking, commenting, become compulsive habits. The tipping point here is when casual use crosses the line into unhealthy obsession. The danger, as Gladwell points out, lies in the fact that once tipping points are reached, the outcomes are often unpredictable and hard to reverse. A movement that started with good intentions can suddenly turn toxic. A trend that began as fun or harmless can spiral into something damaging. And once that tipping point is reached, there's no going back. So, what can we do to prevent these negative tipping points? Gladwell emphasizes the importance of awareness and intervention. Recognizing the signs of a tipping point before it's too late is crucial, whether it's spotting the spread of misinformation, recognizing harmful online behavior, or addressing inequality before it tips into unrest. Early intervention can stop dangerous trends from spiraling out of control, but this requires vigilance and a deep understanding of how tipping points work. Ultimately, Gladwell's exploration of the dark side of the tipping point serves as a warning. While tipping points have the power to create positive change, they also have the potential to lead us into dangerous territory. By understanding how these moments unfold, we can better prepare ourselves to manage their consequences. In Revenge of the Tipping Point, Malcolm Gladwell explains that tipping points don't happen in isolation. Instead, they are the result of interconnected networks and relationships between people. It's not just what people are doing or thinking, it's who they're connected to, how information flows, and how these networks amplify certain behaviors. This concept of networks and connectivity is a key driver behind tipping points, and Gladwell argues that understanding these connections is critical to understanding how ideas and trends spread. At the core of this idea is the power of social networks. Gladwell highlights that our society is built on networks, whether they are friendships, families, professional connections, or digital communities. These networks are the lifeblood of any tipping point. An idea, behavior, or trend doesn't reach a tipping point because of one individual. It reaches a tipping point because of how it spreads across a network. The connectivity of a network determines how quickly an idea travels and how likely it is to catch on. One of the most interesting points Gladwell makes is about the structure of these networks. He introduces the concept of hubs, highly connected individuals or groups that act as bridges between different parts of a network. These hubs are key to spreading ideas. When an idea or trend reaches a hub, it's much more likely to tip because the hub can quickly disseminate that idea to a wide audience. Hubs are often influencers, celebrities, or thought leaders who have access to large numbers of people. For example, in the context of social media, someone with a large following, like a celebrity on Twitter or an influencer on Instagram, acts as a hub. When they share content, it reaches not only their immediate followers but also cascades into new networks, amplifying the reach. This amplification effect is crucial to how tipping points occur. Without hubs to connect different parts of the network, an idea might stay confined to a small group, never gaining enough traction to tip. Gladwell also discusses how technology has supercharged this process. In the past, networks were limited by geography. Your social connections were primarily local. But now, with the rise of digital platforms, people are part of global networks. An idea can spread from one side of the world to the other in a matter of seconds. Social media, in particular, has made networks much more complex, with people connected across vast distances and diverse groups. This global connectivity has made it easier for trends to reach tipping points because information travels faster and more widely than ever before. Gladwell argues that today's tipping points are often driven by the instantaneous nature of digital communication. A single tweet, video, or post can go viral, spreading through interconnected networks and reaching millions of people in a matter of hours. This kind of connectivity simply wasn't possible in the past, and it has fundamentally changed the dynamics of how tipping points unfold. However, Gladwell also cautions that this increased connectivity can have negative consequences. When misinformation or harmful ideas spread through these networks, they can reach a tipping point just as quickly as positive trends. The same networks that can spread helpful, innovative ideas can also amplify dangerous behaviors or false information, leading to real-world harm. This highlights the double-edged sword of connectivity in the digital age. Another critical point in Gladwell's analysis is the role of weak ties in networks. Weak ties are connections with people you don't interact with frequently or closely, acquaintances, distant colleagues, or even strangers on social media. While they may not seem important, weak ties are actually vital to spreading ideas. They act as bridges between different social groups, allowing information to flow from one network to another. Gladwell emphasizes that weak ties are often the reason why an idea or trend crosses over from one community to another, eventually reaching a tipping point. In tight-knit networks, everyone knows the same information and shares the same ideas, but weak ties introduce new perspectives, trends, and behaviors into a group. This injection of fresh ideas is often what sparks a tipping point, as it brings something novel into a network that might otherwise be stagnant. The concept of weak ties is especially relevant in today's world, where social media platforms allow us to maintain large networks of acquaintances. You might not interact with every single one of your followers regularly, but when you share something, it has the potential to reach them and their followers, and so on. This web of weak ties is what enables ideas to spread so quickly and widely in the digital age, making it a critical factor in the tipping point process. Gladwell also explores how the density of a network affects tipping points. Dense networks, where many people are interconnected and share the same information, tend to spread ideas faster within the group. However, they can also become echo chambers, where only certain ideas are reinforced, making it difficult for new ideas to break through. On the other hand, more loosely connected networks might be slower to spread information within the group, but they are more open to diverse ideas and new trends from outside. This balance between density and openness is important when considering how tipping points occur. A network that is too dense might resist change, while a network that is too loose might not spread ideas quickly enough to reach a tipping point. The key, Gladwell suggests, is in finding the right balance where ideas can move fluidly but also gain traction. Finally, Gladwell touches on the emotional connectivity in networks. It's not just the structural connections between people that matter, it's also the emotional bonds that drive behavior. When people feel connected to a cause, movement, or idea, on an emotional level, they are more likely to share it, engage with it, and help it reach a tipping point. This emotional engagement is particularly powerful in social movements or viral campaigns, where people feel personally invested in spreading the message. Gladwell's exploration of networks and connectivity reveals that tipping points aren't just about the ideas themselves, but about how those ideas move through social systems. The more connected we are, the more likely it is that an idea will reach a tipping point, whether for good or bad. Understanding the dynamics of these networks is crucial to understanding how tipping points shape our world. In Revenge of the Tipping Point, Malcolm Gladwell delves into how small actions can have a disproportionately large impact on reaching tipping points. The idea is that what seems like a minor or insignificant behavior can, through a series of interconnected events, trigger larger changes that reach a tipping point and create widespread effects. Gladwell starts by emphasizing that small actions are often the building blocks of significant change. These seemingly minor acts can accumulate over time, leading to substantial shifts in behavior, opinion, or trends. For instance, consider how a single person's choice to start a new trend or support a cause can inspire others to do the same, gradually building momentum until it reaches a tipping point. One of the key examples Gladwell discusses is the cumulative impact of individual choices. Imagine a new social movement or a trend that begins with just a few people adopting a new behavior or idea. At first, it might look like a niche interest, but as more individuals join in and start spreading the word, the movement gains traction. Each small action contributes to a larger wave of change, demonstrating how collective small actions can lead to significant outcomes. Gladwell also explores the idea of small actions in social influence. He highlights how minor gestures, like sharing a post on social media or endorsing a product, can influence others and build momentum. These small acts of endorsement or support can ripple through networks, gradually increasing the visibility and popularity of an idea or trend. When enough people engage in these small actions, they can collectively tip the balance and drive widespread adoption or change. One fascinating aspect Gladwell examines is the concept of tipping points created by incremental changes. For example, in the context of public health, a small, consistent effort to promote healthy behaviors, like washing hands or getting vaccinated, can, over time, lead to a tipping point where these behaviors become the norm. These incremental changes build up until they reach a critical mass, resulting in a significant public health impact. Gladwell also touches on how small actions can play a role in social movements and revolutions. Historical events often begin with a few individuals taking small, courageous steps to challenge the status quo. These small actions, such as protests, speeches, or acts of defiance, can inspire others to join the cause, creating a ripple effect that eventually leads to larger social or political change. The Arab Spring, for example, began with the small act of a street vendor setting himself on fire, which sparked a series of protests and uprisings across the region. In the business world, Gladwell illustrates how small innovations or changes can lead to industry-wide shifts. A company that introduces a new product or business model might start with a small market share. But as the product gains popularity and more consumers adopt it, the company can eventually disrupt an entire industry. These small innovations can tip the balance of competition and redefine market dynamics. Another example Gladwell provides is the impact of minor improvements in personal habits. Small changes in daily routines, such as adopting a new productivity technique or making incremental adjustments to health and fitness, can accumulate over time and lead to significant improvements in overall well-being or performance. These small, consistent actions may seem insignificant at first, but can add up to major transformations. Gladwell also discusses the concept of small wins in achieving larger goals. He explains that breaking down a big goal into smaller, manageable actions can create a sense of progress and motivation. Each small win builds momentum and reinforces the behavior, eventually leading to the successful achievement of the larger goal. This approach is often used in behavioral change strategies and can be particularly effective in overcoming challenges or making lasting changes. However, Gladwell also acknowledges that not all small actions lead to positive outcomes. Sometimes, small negative actions or behaviors can accumulate and have harmful effects. For example, small acts of discrimination or prejudice might seem minor on their own but can collectively contribute to systemic issues. It's important to recognize that small actions can have both positive and negative impacts, depending on the context and intent. Ultimately, Gladwell's exploration of the power of small actions reveals that significant change often starts with minor, seemingly inconsequential decisions or behaviors. These small actions, when aggregated and amplified, can drive larger movements, shifts, and tipping points. Understanding this dynamic can help us recognize the potential of our own actions and the impact they can have on the world around us. In Revenge of the Tipping Point, Malcolm Gladwell revisits the concept of the maven, a term he introduced in his earlier work, The Tipping Point. Mavens are individuals who are highly knowledgeable about specific topics and are eager to share that knowledge with others. They play a crucial role in spreading ideas and initiating tipping points. Gladwell argues that in today's digital age, social media influencers have effectively become the modern maven. Gladwell starts by explaining the traditional role of a maven. Historically, mavens are seen as experts or enthusiasts who accumulate and share valuable information. They are trusted sources whose opinions and recommendations can influence others. Mavens are not just about having knowledge, they are about being passionate and proactive in spreading that knowledge to help others make informed decisions. In the context of today's digital world, social media influencers have taken on this role of modern mavens. These influencers are individuals who have built significant followings on platforms like Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Twitter. Their influence stems from their expertise, charisma, and ability to connect with their audiences. They are seen as authoritative voices in their niches, whether it's fashion, beauty, fitness, or technology. Gladwell highlights that influencers, much like traditional mavens, have the power to shape trends and drive tipping points. When an influencer endorses a product, shares a new idea, or highlights a trend, their large and engaged audience is likely to take notice. This endorsement can quickly elevate a product or idea from obscurity to widespread popularity. The influencer's role as a modern maven is to be a trusted source of recommendations, and their influence can turn small trends into major movements. One key aspect of influencers as modern mavens is their ability to leverage their social networks. Influencers often have extensive networks of followers who trust their opinions and are eager to engage with their content. This network effect amplifies the reach of their endorsements. When an influencer shares something with their audience, it can quickly spread through social media channels, reaching a much larger audience than traditional advertising methods. Gladwell also discusses how influencers create a sense of authenticity and personal connection with their audience. Unlike traditional advertisements that can feel impersonal and distant, influencers often present themselves in a relatable and genuine manner. This personal touch helps build trust and credibility. Followers are more likely to be influenced by someone they feel they know and trust, making influencers powerful agents of change and trendsetters. Another interesting point Gladwell makes is about the diversity of influencers. In the past, mavens might have been limited to certain areas of expertise or social circles. Today, influencers can come from a wide range of backgrounds and interests. This diversity means that trends and ideas can emerge from unexpected places, and niche markets can gain prominence. Influencers in niche areas can drive tipping points within specific communities, leading to broader mainstream adoption over time. Gladwell also examines the impact of influencer marketing on consumer behavior. Influencers have the ability to sway purchasing decisions by endorsing products or brands. This influence is especially potent in the digital age, where consumer reviews and recommendations are highly valued. Gladwell notes that when influencers promote products, their endorsements are often perceived as more credible than traditional advertising. This is because influencers have built a relationship of trust with their audience, making their recommendations more impactful. However, Gladwell also points out some potential challenges and criticisms of influencer culture. As influencers gain more power and influence, there can be issues of authenticity and transparency. Followers may question whether influencers genuinely believe in the products or ideas they endorse, or if they are simply motivated by financial gain. The growing influence of social media also raises concerns about the potential for influencers to perpetuate unrealistic standards or contribute to negative social pressures. Gladwell emphasizes that understanding the role of influencers as modern mavens is crucial for both consumers and businesses. For consumers, it's important to recognize the impact of influencer endorsements and make informed decisions. For businesses, partnering with influencers can be a powerful strategy for reaching new audiences and driving trends, but it's essential to choose influencers whose values align with the brand and who have a genuine connection with their followers. Thanks for watching. We've just scratched the surface of Revenge of the Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell, covering everything from the power of networks to the darker side of tipping points. If you found this summary helpful, make sure to give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to Book Briefs, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. And don't forget to leave a comment. What part of Gladwell's analysis resonated most with you? Let us know, and as always, thanks for supporting the channel.